Welcome to another edition of Tuft Talk, brought to you by CMC. We have a great episode in store that we're very excited about. But first, Andrew and Zach, how are we doing?
Doing great, man. It's
Good.
another wonderful episode we got ahead of us. Really enjoyed shooting the last episode with Greg and talking about a little bit of the automation division that we now have at CMC. And hopefully maybe get into more of that later. But how are y'all feeling?
I'm feeling good. That was a fun episode. I'm excited for this one too, but it was fun for Greg to kind of come on after your dad. So we got the original CEO and then Greg coming on later to kind of see how he's carried on that culture. So that was fun to hear.
Yeah, and I'm excited about this one too because I feel like we've got some overarching episodes under our belt, and this one's going to start drilling down into a little bit more of the finer parts of CMC and kind of the heart of CMC, digging into those core values.
Yeah, and Will, exactly. And I got a little teaser as well. So the plan,
tease us a little bit.
Yeah, the plan for the next episode has a little international flavor. That's the plan. We'll leave it at that. But our audience could get a nice accent involved that's not Southern redneck like Will and ours. Wow.
That's true.
That's a teaser.
Where could it be
So
from?
we'll just leave that there and we'll let it be. But people just have to stay tuned, you know.
If it doesn't come to fruition, just forget that little teaser ever happened.
Yeah, I said it's in the plans.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Enough of this nonsense.
Yeah, nonsense.
We'll move on. But today we're excited to have Todd Dungan on with us. He's the director of our engineering department. And to talk a little bit about CMC Cares, take a little bit deeper dive into that. So, Todd, how are you?
I'm fantastic. Glad to be here. Thank you for letting me join.
Yeah, and I think just before we get diving into CMC Cares, let's talk a little bit about your role with CMC, how long you've been here, and kind of a little bit of your background.
Yeah, so I started as the mechanical engineering manager and still fulfill that role today in some form, but I also have electrical engineering under me as well. Been here about 6 years, so still learning, tufting along the way in some areas, but really enjoying my tenure here.
So what about a little bit of your personal life, a little background? I know this, but not always from Chattanooga, right?
That's right. I actually was born and raised in South Mississippi. Spent most of my career in the marine and offshore industry there, designing winches and cranes. Had no idea what a tufting machine was before I came here and applied.
Welcome to the rest of the world.
Yeah. So it's been interesting to learn the uniqueness of this industry.
So, Todd.
Hold on, I got a question
Yeah,
before that. So you were speaking about your previous experience, and so not coming from the tufting industry, right? You just said didn't really know what it was, but hired on here at CMC. So what drew you, since it wasn't an industry thing, what drew you to come to Card-Monroe?
Honestly, when I interviewed, I was able to walk through the plant and talk to several people. I was allowed to do that. And I asked several in the office, out in the plant, everyone I met, why do you work here? Yeah. And everyone had a very similar story, that it was the people and the culture here. And so that really drew me. It got my attention. It wasn't staged and planned, just to impress me. And as I talked to people more and more, I was here for most of the day, I could really get a sense of the atmosphere here and how good of a place it will be, the people, how good the people are here. And I left and told my wife that I wasn't sure if Card-Monroe needed me, but I sure wanted to work here just because of the people.
That's awesome.
So the other follow-up question I have, before you started here or knew about Card-Monroe, did you know what made carpet or artificial turf?
I had no idea. It's just something you walked on and you saw on TV. I just had no idea at all.
You're not any different than the rest of the world. You always get people in there like, oh, what do you do for a living? What do you do for a living? And you tell them, oh, I make the machines that make carpet. Because you can't say tufting machines because they have no idea what they are. And I've literally on 2 different occasions, I said, we have a business. We make the machines that make carpet. And 2 different people, 2 different occasions, I said, well, I guess somebody has to do that, don't they? Is that a good or a bad response? I'm not sure. But Will, did you know Mr. Todd here used to be a hooper?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Just back in the high school days, I wasn't important, but I enjoyed the play.
Yeah. I did not know he was a hooper.
Have you been in the free throw shooting contest that we have here?
I have, and I have not won.
Oh, only certain people can win, I guess.
I guess so.
Only one time.
First,
could not repeat as a champ.
Well, you got to let other people win.
Well, yeah, and like I've always said, better be glad I wasn't in it. But
that's lack of that's lack of scheduling.
This is
your
also
part.
another theme for another podcast. Let's get back to the heart of the matter. Not me would have beating you and free throw shooting contest. But yeah, the heart of the matter. So, the inception, we talked a little bit about it with Greg on our previous episode of CMC Cares. And just the inception of it, the idea that was kind of around that for CMC. And I was telling Greg, we've always had a great culture at CMC, and one that Louie and Charlie started and really built a caring culture. But Greg really came in and instilled a lot of system to the culture and to the care, I guess. One of those, of course, as we mentioned, was the safety aspect, that it wasn't that we were unsafe. We just didn't have really a great safety system. And the other part, was this CMC Cares that we're going to speak about today, of bringing kind of a system to the CMC Cares. So give us a little background on what is CMC Cares. What does that even mean?
Yeah, so you described it well as far as being a system. We had a culture of caring here where if somebody had a hardship, we would pass the hat to try to help them out. But unfortunately, that may be very local to a department within the company. Or if someone was more well-known throughout the company, they may be supported a little more unintentionally. Right. And so just to formalize that, put some structure behind that so we could reach every individual in every way and show that I'm cared for. And that's that structure that you mentioned that Greg spoke about, putting that in place so we could really reach out as a company and as individuals.
And so talk a little bit more about that. With CMC Cares, what all does it encompass? Yes, it's a practical way for us to help employees, but what all do, through the donations that people may give out of their paycheck, or where does all that money go as far as the different ways y'all give it out?
Yeah, sure. So CMC Cares is really an umbrella of things that we do around here. It's not just one particular things. So we have our company picnic would fall into that. Our tuition reimbursement would fall into that. We have a wellness reimbursement where we're trying to reimburse people to follow the healthy lifestyle, whether it's camping equipment, gym memberships, or anything like that. And so those are company funded and been in place for a long time and have rolled into CMC Cares. Another is our chaplain, our corporate chaplain, even though he's been here for quite some time. Shout
out Louis Belva.
That's right.
He was here today, in fact.
That's right.
Yeah.
An important part of that. And so where you mentioned as far as the funding, that would be more into the caring team that is part under the CMC Cares, one particular aspect of that. And then you also mentioned our IIF safety, that would fall under CMC Cares. So a lot of things going on there, but it's all focused on our employees and trying to build that caring culture, strengthen that caring culture every day.
You were talking about earlier about passing the hat around, and I personally have witnessed that over the years working here. When a certain individual hit some sort of hardship, we would try to help them out, but it was very informal. And so now through the structure of CMC Cares, which is a 501c3, correct?
That's right.
There's structure to the giving, and who gives to the CMC Cares? I think that's a cool piece of this.
Yeah. So the company fronts the cash, or can front the cash that would go to CMC Cares. And the reason I say can is because we have several people in the company that just have a heart to give. They want to be a part of it in some way. And so we have allowed them through either payroll deductions or one-time gifts. They can give to the 501c3 to help fund that. And we have many employees that do just that.
Yeah, I think that's a cool piece is it allows, people to help out their brother or sister, and then, be the recipient of that when the time may be needed, because you never know where there might be a hardship. And I think it's also, a piece where the company itself has, as you mentioned, put into that bucket. So what kind of things has the CMC Cares from a monetary standpoint of helping someone? What are the type of things that they help with? The caring team. And I think before we go to that, I think it's important to kind of lay out the structure of
Yeah,
the
that's what I
caring
was about to
team
say.
and the fact that there's no per se management or family members in that. So it's truly a employee led caring team as part of the CMC Cares program. So maybe speak to some of that and then answer the part of what all the monetary help has been, what kind.
Sure. So absolutely, as you mentioned, the caring team is 100% employee led. All the decisions are made by the employees, not by management, and that's intentional. Those folks are working day to day, side by side for those that are in their group. The company is divided into groups, and we have representatives for each of those groups that come to the table as a caring team. They're out hearing the needs of the people daily, far more than management could, for example. It's not that our managers do not care. It's far from that. It's just simply the caring team representatives work with them every day and can hear far more. And so those caring team representatives, they will bring to the caring team meetings requests that they hear, some needs that they've heard from their employees, or the employees could turn in a form that would come to the caring team. And from there, me specifically, I present that need to the caring team without names, without position of the company being stated, and the caring team will then make an action as to how they can help. And once that's the decision made, it goes back to the employee of how the caring team can help.
Yeah, I think that's an awesome thing. And what percentage of this is this all internal, or is there some aspect of the community as far as the giving goes?
Sure, good question. The majority intentionally is internal. 90% goes to the employees and our families, but we do have 10% of the funding that can go to a community effort, a nonprofit that our employees are passionate about.
And it's something, going back to talking about, we used to pass the hat and then how we give 90% of the employees. It's something that, it's one of those things that you can give out of your paycheck. I do myself. But it's, like you said, you don't always know the needs of every different department or individuals in that department, but it's a way to, all of us can give a little bit and somebody's needs can be met even if it's not made vocal. And I think there's a lot of needs that weren't met when we were just passing that because not everybody's comfortable sharing that and a lot of people knowing that. But this is a good anonymous way for somebody to really, if they're struggling or need some kind of assistance, they can do that in a confidential way and get somewhat of the help they need. So that's one reason I'm very excited about this program for CMC. And, we talked a little bit about this with Greg, talking about, us, we're growing our business. We've acquired another company's Card-Monroe Automation. And with that, we've expanded the CMC Cares to CMA as well. So maybe could you talk a little bit about how that transition's gone with transitioning CMC Cares over to CMA as well?
Yeah, that was introduced in October, and so we're only a few months into that at Greenville at this point. But we do have a corporate chaplain in place there. We have a caring team member in place there to listen to those needs. And we've also actioned probably a handful of requests from CMA at this point. So
that's awesome.
It seems to be getting well received, and over time there will be some trust built with that, the more decisions we can make. So we're excited about the possibility there of spreading that over to Greenville.
What type of, from a monetary assistance perspective, just in generalities, what kind of thing has there been help with CMC employees? So, has it been helping pay the bills? Has it been, somebody in some other hardship? Kind of what are the in general terms, again, just the avenues in which the help is coming in, or I should say.
A good example of that would be if you have an unexpected medical event and you're out of work for some time and you get behind in some way, well, the caring team can step in and help bridge that gap, whether that's paying a utility bill, helping with mortgage or rent if they choose, to help financially in some way until that employee can get back on their feet. And then also, if you're an employee that's passionate about a nonprofit in the community, we can help in several ways there. We can help financially support if you request. We can help you drum up support internally by advertising and communicating to the employees, fundraising activities, and of course volunteering. We can help with that as well, and we could do some internal volunteering efforts. For example, we've done a food drive, and we currently have a coat drive going for some nonprofits locally, or there can be external volunteering efforts there.
And I saw that. That was neat to see the external pieces of CMC Cares as well. I saw we made a donation to Signal Centers as well through the CMC Cares Fund, along with what you mentioned of the coat drive. And I think that's an important part of, yes, we all work here and take care of each other, but we're also part of a community outside of, outside of this building. There's a community that we can help as well, as being a good member of a community would, wanting to help those that do so many different services and ministries around the city of Chattanooga.
That's right, and I'll even add to that when we help an employee in some way, it's often confusing to those on the other end of the call as to why a company would like to pay for somebody's utility bill. Mm-hmm. And I've just heard that it's very unique, yeah. And those that are receiving that call state that as much. So it's not only just the nonprofits we're helping and getting the notice, but the people that are on the receiving end hearing of this, it makes an impact on them as well.
That's awesome.
And we've always said, this is not a perfect company by any means, but we try to treat each other right and fair, and that, yes, it's a family company, but we've always, from a cultural standpoint, try to make it an extended family in the way that we interact with each other and kind of how we live and breathe every day and work alongside each other. And I think the CMC Cares and the Caring Team as the representative of the collective body is just another way that we exemplify that quote unquote family atmosphere, and it's taking care of each other. When you have a family member that's in a hard spot, right? So,
it's a way we truly live out love, dignity, and respect, and having a servant's heart. I mean, thinking back to CMA is in just recent events when we had all the hurricanes come through the states and Greenville was impacted. I actually drove through part of Greenville after that storm had just come through, and it was severely impacted. Just as far as power, electricity, and just roads being covered up, couldn't get to grocery stores. And so that was one cool thing that CMC did as part of what the Caring Team did, was getting those food donations and supply donations to send over there the day after it happened. And that's been a really cool aspect that I think the CMC Cares mindset has brought to our culture.
That's right, and that was actually an employee request to the Caring Team that knew people well at CMA, asked for the Caring Team to get involved in that in some way, and we rallied around that as a company. And if I recall, it was either 12 or 13 pallets worth of supplies that were shipped out immediately to help, and of course it was well received, well needed.
And I think one thing too I noticed, I know we rented a moving truck to come in, and we got the moving truck pulled up, ready to load on everything, and it wasn't even close to being big enough to load all of the pallets of supplies and food onto the moving truck. So we had to go back to the moving company, get a bigger truck, and bring it back. So I thought that was just a really cool, as we were saying, 1 day notice response from the employees here that, the Caring Team kind of headed that up and was a big facilitator of that. And so I think that goes back to what you were saying about the caring mindset that CMC Cares and the Caring Team has emboldened and strengthened in the company. And I thought that was a really cool thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree completely. To tell you that I am surprised by our response, I'm not. And the reason I say that is, fortunate for me in my position, I get to see this monthly, weekly, how people step up for those that may be strangers to them at the time, or their best friend that's here at work. And people just come together here regularly to support those in need. And I'm in a position, thankfully, to witness that from beginning to end. It's been a blessing to me.
Yeah, and if I remember during that time frame, we on the management team wanted to help out. We weren't really sure how or what to do, and it was awesome to see the caring team and other employees just swoop in and take care of that, that desire, but also wanting to take care of their fellow person. And a lot of them haven't even necessarily met, right? It's a new company that we've had since January of 2024, and it's in 5 hours away, 4 hours away, whatever it is, and they haven't met. They're two different industries, but yet it's still extension of the family and seeing that through. You're talking a little bit earlier, speaking of CMA, about actioning there already. How many total actions have we had here at CMC as far as the caring team goes? And kind of speak to that number.
Yeah, so we introduced this in April of 2023, and as of this month, we've had 60 requests filled, or decisions acted is probably a better way to say that. Now that includes not only helping our employees, but our community efforts, but 60 total.
So we filled 60, and I know we have requests coming in at various different times. How often does the CMC Cares teams meet to go over those requests and to get those filled?
We formally meet once monthly, but we do have some more urgent requests that come through that we can't wait till the end of the month to decision. And so if we have to have an impromptu meeting, we will. Most of them can be handled via email and conference calls to handle those situations, but our normal flow is once a month.
Okay. Well, Todd, thank you for joining us today. This has been a great episode just to give, I think, to give everybody exposure into a little bit of what we here at CMC believe and want to live out on a daily basis of, like we were talking about earlier, our core values of love, dignity, respect, and having a servant's heart. It's been eye-opening to me because I knew what the caring team did, but just hearing a deeper dive into it has given me a newfound passion for it, and it just given me more excitement for where CMC is going and just furthering that culture of caring and loving our neighbor and serving those around us.
Yeah, and thanks for your leadership, seeing it through, heading up the caring team and the CMC Cares. And I know I went down with you to CMA when you helped roll that out down there, so I appreciate your leadership and getting this thing started for all of us. So
I love it. Thank you for letting me come and talk about it.
As always, thank you guys for listening to another episode of Tuft Talk and seeing what is going on at CMC and taking that a little bit deeper dive into CMC Cares with us. And as always,
hit the noti bell.
Hit the noti bell, as Zach would say. And we appreciate you joining us.